For the benefit of the recording, right, this is being recorded on Tuesday the 9th of June 2026 at 5 p.m. So this has been recorded online for people who are unable to attend today's briefing or for your own reference at a future time. So I think we've just brought Nathan onto the call as well. So hi, Nathan. So we spoke a fortnight ago. I'm Paul Manning. I'm the returning officer. If I can welcome you to this briefing, hopefully you'll find this useful. Here in the room with me, I have Ian Strachan and Nikki Jarvie. They are my deputy returning officers, and we have Laura Jardine, who is from our elections office, and they're all along here tonight. So the aims for this are as summarised in the agenda: to provide information to candidates and agents following the close of nominations last Friday, the 5th of June, to provide more detailed information on the postal vote arrangements and the count, to give you an opportunity to ask questions. So feel free to ask questions at any point as we go through the agenda. Just pop up the hand icon on Teams and I'll try and bring you in. And there'll also be an opportunity for questions at the end if you wish. So what we're going to do first of all is go through post-nomination information. So following the close of nominations on the 5th of June, we've published and made available in public-facing council offices in the ward area and also on the council's website the following statutory documents, and they're also available in your post-nomination pack. So firstly, the statement of persons nominated, notice of poll and situation of polling stations. So there are 4 candidates in the Larkhall by-election, and the ballot paper, which is white in colour, has the candidates listed in the same order as the notices. So that is in alphabetical order by surname, and a box opposite each candidate to allow electors to cast their vote. So the situation of polling stations details the venues which are being used for this ward by-election and contains the ranges of electoral registration numbers for voters who are entitled to vote at each polling place. So that the second main element is the notice of election agents. So that document is self-explanatory. So that is details relating to each of the election agents for the candidates standing. We've also updated the electorate figures for you, and that is broken down to in-person electorate and postal vote electorate. So again, you can just see them on the screen just now, hopefully. Right, so we've got a total electorate of 15,811, in person 13,459, and postal 2,352. So thirdly, the notification of appointment of counting and polling agents, appointment of postal voting agents. So this form, which I'm right in saying is in the pack, right, allows candidates to appoint as many polling agents as considered necessary to attend the polling places. However, the number of counting agents is based on the maximum number of attendees to ensure safe conduct of the count. So that's dictated by the capacity of the venue. We're finalising these numbers and we'll share them with you as soon as possible. So that's going to dictate how many people you're able to bring to the count. The statutory deadline for returning that form is Thursday the 2nd of July. However, it is helpful if you can return the document much earlier to allow passes to be put into production at the close of that date of the 2nd of July. On receipt of your completed document, you'll be advised of the arrangements for picking up your passes in advance of attending the count. On postal voting agents, if you're appointing postal voting agents to attend the postal vote opening sessions, the deadline for that form is different. You must return the postal votes agents form in advance of the relevant session you or your agent wishes to attend. And the opening sessions are detailed in your pack, and I'll talk through that later. So, fourthly, what I was going to reference is absent vote arrangements. So firstly, the issue of postal votes. As the date for the issue of postal votes draws closer, I would remind you of the two key principles when dealing with postal votes, and this is the same in all election arrangements. And that's as laid out in the Electoral Commission's Code of Conduct for Candidates and Agents. Candidates and agents should uphold the secrecy of the ballot, and candidates and agents should not place themselves in a situation where their honesty or integrity can be questioned. So having said that and get that out of the way, the deadline for postal vote applications or changes to existing arrangements is 5 p.m. on Wednesday, the 24th of June. You can download application forms from the Electoral Registration Office website or from www.gov.uk/register to vote. And just a quick reminder of when the postal votes will be dispatched. The first run of postal votes will be done around the 12th of June 2026, which is Friday coming. And the second run of postal votes will be done a fortnight after that on Friday, the 26th of June 2026. Now, postal votes will be delivered first class, so the postal vote should reach the voter the next day. However, we have advised voters to contact the election office if their postal voting pack has not arrived by midday on Friday, the 19th of June. That's for that first run, and Friday, the 3rd of July 2026 for that second run of postal votes. Now, postal voting packs include a ballot paper and a postal voting statement. Voters must provide their date of birth and signature unless that's been waived on the postal voting statement for their vote to be counted. If someone is unable to sign, they should apply for a waiver prior to the deadline of 5 p.m. on Wednesday, the 24th of June. If a postal voter loses or spoils their postal voting pack, a replacement can be issued by contacting the election office up until 10 p.m. on polling day. Proxy votes we're going to cover next. So if someone is too late to apply for a postal vote, or they will be away when the postal vote is due to be delivered, they may wish to consider appointing a proxy to vote on their behalf. The deadline for applying to appoint a proxy is 5 p.m. on Wednesday, the 1st of July. Emergency proxies. The deadline to apply for an emergency proxy is 5 p.m. on polling day. That's Thursday, the 9th of July. There are certain circumstances which apply, such as medical emergencies or for work reasons. So those are required to enable somebody to get an emergency proxy arrangement. Notice of opening of postal votes. So the statutory notice of opening of postal votes is enclosed in your pack. That notice advises on the venue and dates for the opening of postal vote sessions. Now, as I mentioned earlier, candidates must ensure that they've completed and returned their appointment of postal voting agents form prior to the opening session their agent wishes to attend. So you have to have that done in advance of the opening session. In an effort to raise awareness of what actually happens at the opening of postal votes, I've prepared an outline procedure which is also detailed in your pack, and it's worth taking a moment to go through that procedure. So in terms of the opening procedure, to assist with the workflow, the procedure for the first week is simply to open the outer envelope, remove the postal voting statement in preparation for scanning, and the full opening session to commence on Wednesday, the 8th of July. So only stage 1A will be carried out during the opening sessions, which are commencing on Tuesday, the 30th of June. So stage 1A, postal vote assistants and the postal vote manager opening the outer envelopes, removing the postal voting statements ready for verification, and batching envelope A. So that envelope contains the ballot paper. Stage 1B, and this centres around postal vote team leaders. The postal vote team leader will scan the postal voting statements, adjudicate on the postal voting statements, and instruct the opening of envelope A. Stage 2A involves the postal vote assistants and the postal vote manager. So on the instruction of the postal vote manager, the postal vote assistants will commence stage 2A. And stage 2A involves opening envelope A, removing the ballot paper, and all ballot papers are kept face down through that process so they cannot be seen. At stage 2B, the postal vote team leaders will then scan the back of the ballot paper and reconcile the paperwork processed for each particular day. And that includes the returning officer's adjudication. And then stage 2C, postal vote team leaders will place the accepted ballot papers into the allocated ballot box and seal the ballot box. Now, whilst it's possible to observe this process, you will not be able to see the ballot paper when the ballot paper envelope is opened, nor when the ballot paper is scanned. And I need to remind you that ballot paper sampling is not permitted during those postal vote opening sessions. So that's a fairly lengthy run through of the postal vote procedure. So the next slide that we're going to look at is about poll cards. So as I mentioned at the pre-nomination session, the first run of poll cards were posted yesterday, Monday the 8th of June, and subsequent poll cards will be sent out on Monday the 29th of June, which is after the registration deadline of Tuesday the 23rd of June. So that's poll cards. In terms of the arrangements in force at the poll, what we're going to talk about here are some of the arrangements at polling places. And there's just a couple of things I'd like to highlight. And again, there's a document in your pack that covers this fully. Things I'd like to pick up: display of advertisements and publicity materials. The council does not permit fly posting on street furniture or the display of A-frames outside polling places. If any of your supporters disregard this, you will be contacted immediately to arrange for their removal, failing which they'll be removed by council staff. On campaigning and leafleting, that isn't permitted within the curtilage of the polling place. Now, for most polling places, there is a perimeter fence, and in polling places where the entrance or exit for the building is straight onto the pavement, the curtilage means the building. So the presiding officer at station number 1 at each polling place has a layout plan of the curtilage of the building and has been asked to ensure that candidates and agents are clear on this. Candidates and agents can, where reasonable, be located at the entrance to polling places or even inside in inclement weather, but care must be taken to ensure that voters do not feel intimidated, the area does not become congested, and there is strictly no leafleting in the area. Presiding officers have been asked to ensure that this remains the case throughout the day and will liaise with the elections office should any issues arise. As returning officer, I will have the final discretion on any issues which do arise. The third bullet point on that slide talks about rosettes. So rosettes with candidates or party details are permitted to be worn. However, if someone is in the polling station for a prolonged period of time, they should remove their rosette. On photography, there should be no photographs taken inside the polling place. So the next slide looks at what you should expect on polling day. Now, in terms of the election office, so the election office will be open from 6 AM with the logistics team and the polling place partners on duty to ensure that arrangements run to plan. Any issues that arise should be directed to the election office, and election staff can be contacted on 01698 455745. Polling staff. So the polling staff arrangements are as follows. The polling staff will arrive at 6:30 AM to set up in good time for the opening of poll at 7 AM. There will be one presiding officer and one polling clerk on duty at each polling station. In polling places with 3 or more stations, there will be poll information officers who will be on hand to assist with queuing and to guide voters to the correct station. A polling station inspector will visit the polling place at the start of the poll to support poll staff and the election office team, and will be on hand to assist throughout the day with arrangements. Standby polling staff have been recruited to work at short notice if required. That final bullet point talks about voter turnout notice. So to assist candidates and agents, the presiding officer at station number 1 will display a notice detailing voter turnout, and will try to update this approximately every 2 hours. The notice will be displayed near the entrance to the polling place. And clearly, candidates and agents can ask for turnout information at any time. However, you have to understand our priority is to ensure that voters get to vote. And if the presiding officer is busy with voters, the voters will have to take priority. However, as stated, we'll try to make sure that that turnout notice gets updated every 2 hours. So the next slide is on changes to polling places. So for this by-election, there is one small change. Voters within polling district SL168 usually vote at Stonehouse Primary School. However, due to the very small electorate, 3 people, this is going to be moved to Craigbank Primary School for this election. And the voters have been made aware of that via their poll cards. So the next slide we're going to talk about is the count arrangements. So the count is going to take place here in the council HQ in Hamilton, and it will take place in committee room 1. It will commence at 10 PM on Thursday the 9th of July. The count will be an e-count and will commence as usual with the verification of unused and tendered ballot papers before moving on to verification and the counting of the postal and station ballot papers. Only those issued with a pass can gain access to the count. And I must emphasise again that passes have to be picked up from the elections office prior to attending the count. And that's due to us tightening our security arrangements in comparison to what's happened in years gone by. More detailed information on the count will be provided at the poll and count awareness session, which is going to take place 3 weeks today at 5 PM on Tuesday, the 30th of June. And again, that will take place here in Committee Room 2 in the Council HQ, or you can access it on MS Teams. So the next slide is about conducting your campaign. So we can't give legal or other advice about how you or your team conduct your election campaign, or about how you behave during the campaign. We run the election, we don't police, right, or regulate it, right, and you need to have regard to your own legal liabilities and to your conduct. If you have any specific concerns about the behaviour of any candidates or how they're campaigning, you should contact either Police Scotland or the Electoral Commission as appropriate. The Electoral Commission recently published their Principles for Campaigning Respectfully and Safely. So the principles set out a minimum standard of behaviour for all candidates and campaigners and have been developed to make sure that everyone involved in the democratic process is supported and protected from abuse and from intimidation. I would encourage you to have a look at these principles and to share them with those who will be campaigning with or on behalf of you. In terms of public awareness campaigns, to ensure the appropriate election is aware of the election office team have organised posts on both the council website and on social media. We have displayed statutory notices in public-facing council offices within the ward. We've worked with minority groups in the ward area to promote and encourage registration and participation. We've provided information to schools and to care homes. We've offered elections and electoral registration office helplines for voters. So what happens next? Right, as I mentioned earlier, a polling day and count awareness session is going to be held on Tuesday the 30th of June. What's that going to cover? Providing an update on postal vote arrangements. We'll discuss the polling day arrangements. We'll discuss count arrangements in a bit more detail. We'll provide information in relation to post-election arrangements. And again, we'll give you the opportunity to ask questions in advance of the poll and count. So finally, right, any questions? So I'm going to pause here in case anybody's got any questions. So I'm not seeing any hands, right? Remember, and I gave it earlier on, you've got that elections office number. If anything comes to mind and you want to put in a question, give the guys at the office a ring and they'd be only too happy to help you or bring anything to me that they feel needs to be dealt with by myself. So if we've not got any questions, that brings the session to a close. I'll just make that final encouragement to ask any questions you might have, if they come to mind, to make sure you're clear on the arrangements in place so far. If you do require any clarification, don't hesitate to contact the elections office.
Just about the post-nomination pack. So we are in the process of finalising that. It will be circulated to all attendees after the event, probably tomorrow morning. It will be sent electronically, but if anyone would like a hard copy of the pack, please just let us know and we'll have that prepared for your collection. Thanks.
So just one final chance, in case anybody's got anything they want to raise. Again, I'm not seeing any hands. So remember, this is going to go up online if you want to go and have a look at it again later on, right? And just see if you want to digest anything that we've covered. So listen, thanks for your attendance, right, and for your patience. And if you can just remember, we've got that further briefing, which is a polling day and count awareness session. Same time, right, 5 o'clock, this time on Tuesday, the 30th of June. So listen, thanks for your attendance and have a good evening. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye-bye.
And everyone else.